What's good, everyone? Today I want to talk about something that I'm really good at. Now, there's a lot of things I'm not really good at, and I talk a lot about those, but today I want to talk about a thing I'm really freaking good at, and that's making mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in my interning experience, in my intern career, and today I want to focus on one of the big ones that I learned pretty late, and that's managing expectations. And managing expectations is this idea that you have to manage your manager just as much as they manage you. I know I use the word manage a lot there, but bear with me for a minute. Let's say you have a manager that tells you that they need a PowerPoint presentation done in 3 days. Now you know it can be done in 1 hour. So you might just, normally you might think, I'm just going to shut up and not really tell them. I'm just going to go ahead and get it done in an hour and sit tight. And then your manager comes back to you and thinks every single time that it's going to take 3 days, and you might not get to work on a cool project that they otherwise would have given to you. The flip side is maybe your manager says, hey, can you get this done in 3 days? And you know it's going to take you 5 days. But you don't say anything because you want to be an overachiever. So because of that, now you're pressed for time and you don't get anything else done. And maybe your work suffers. Maybe it's not the quality that you usually deliver. And all that is about managing your expectations, managing your manager, and making sure you communicate with them what it is, where you're at, and what you think is going to happen. A lot of times you've got to call them out on their BS, not because they're trying to BS you, but really because they don't realize your skill set, where you are at the project, how much time it's going to take. They're working on a lot of projects with a lot of different people. They're not necessarily thinking about what is it that you need and how much time it's going to take you. It's your responsibility to go back to your manager and say, you know what, I don't think that's realistic. You need to push back just a little bit. So I want to give you a story of where this happened to me. And this was pretty late last year in my consulting internship. And one of the things that happened is I was working this week where I was supposed to be delivering a presentation on Friday. The only thing is between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was going to be out of the office for training without really much internet. I might have a few minutes between training sessions, but really I wasn't going to get much work done. And that was the expectation. It was one of those training events where you're working on stuff from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you're really just not expected to be doing any actual client work. Now what happens is on Tuesday morning, before I leave for training, I have a meeting with my manager and I show them the PowerPoint that I've been working on. I say, yeah, this is good, but it needs some work. And, I knew in the back of my mind that it would probably take 15 hours of work to really get it to where I needed to present it. And I told my manager, okay, great, I'll work on it and I'll send you what I have on Friday morning. Now, Friday morning rolls around and I get around to work out maybe 2 or 3 hours, again, between meetings, between training sessions during this conference. And I send it over to my manager. And my manager is thoroughly disappointed that it's not as perfect as can be. And it's really not there. And I knew in the back of my mind that it was 15 hours of work that I really only got to work on for 3 hours. My manager was just really surprised. And that was something where I should have done a much better job of managing expectations. On Tuesday morning before I left, I should have said, look, I'm going to be out from this training for 3 days. You know this, I know this. And you've told me that my expectation is to not work on this presentation, so that's what I'm going to do. Is that okay with you? I think what my manager expected was when I said, hey, I'm going to be out for these 3 days and I'm not really going to work on this, she expected that, you know what? Yes, he's going to be out for 3 days. He's not going to work on it. Maybe in the 3 hours between classes and meetings and whatnot, he'll find time to work on it. And that's something that I should have been clear about and said, like, look, I'm going to be out. There's no way that I think this is going to be ready by Friday morning. Maybe we should push this back to Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. That would give me the proper amount of time for me to go ahead and make the changes, maybe schedule another meeting or two with you to make sure we can review it. And that all comes down to managing expectations. It's about making sure that you communicate with your manager what you think is ample and necessary time, what the expectation is, what is your skill set, what are the needs that you need from your manager. Maybe you should have said, you know what, I think we need to have 2 more meetings. Your manager might say, you know what, you should be ready to go and present this and I don't need to see it again. Don't fall for that trap. Instead, what you should say is, you know what, I know that I'm going to have a pretty solid presentation, but let's go ahead and set 15 minutes the day before just in case. And these are little things. Even if your manager is really optimistic about things, you need to sometimes level set reality and say, this is what's actually possible. This is what I know can happen. It's not just about you, but it's about the team that you're working with. Sometimes you know that even if you can crank something out really quickly, you might be waiting on documents from other people and you want to build that time in. Your manager isn't thinking about all that stuff and you need to communicate all of that. The other part of managing expectations is calling people out on their BS. Sometimes they might tell you something is doable without really knowing whether or not it's doable. They really haven't taken the time to dive into the problem to the extent that you have. And this happened to me earlier on when I was working at Toyota. I was given a problem and not a lot of time to work on it, to be honest. And I did my research and I spent a good amount of time. And after doing a ton of research, talking to a ton of people, I realized that problem, while solvable, was something that probably wasn't worth solving. This wasn't car safety related or performance related. This was on the back end of manufacturing and logistics of how we can make things more efficient and track our reporting a little bit better. Now, this manager had this really good idea. What we're going to do is build this database so we can track every single metric that we have. But then what happened is I went ahead and talked to the people who made the reports, and they said, you know what? It only takes me an hour a month to do this. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's really not that big. It's not worth spending 50 or 60 hours right now for us to build a database that we can automate all this, because in all reality, it doesn't take that much time out of our workflow. Most of the challenge with all this is not actually the fact that we don't have the data, it's the fact that sometimes people make mistakes, and that's something that a database isn't going to solve. It's really just catching human error. Now, I heard this from every single person I was working with, and I knew in the back of my mind, that's what I was thinking, that maybe we don't need to really build out this database. But I was afraid that because my manager was already settled on this idea that we should build this database, I kept kind of working around and trying to find reasons that maybe we should go ahead and build this database, because I knew that's what they wanted. What I should have done is really early on in the project said, you know what, I don't think this is going to work. I'm not going to waste time finding a bunch of fake reasons that we should go ahead and build this database. I'm going to say right here, right now, that it doesn't make sense to do. I know that this sounds like a great idea in your head, but after doing my research, it doesn't make sense, and here's why it doesn't make sense. Instead of just shirking around and just doing what you're told, instead communicating back and managing that expectation with your manager can really make a difference in your experience as an intern. I made this mistake and I got stuck with it a few times, but I really hope that during your internship experience, during your internship career, you guys realize this and it helps you become a better intern, hopefully land that return offer, and hopefully go back to that dream company or find bigger and better things. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed that video, please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. As always, feel free to reach out with me with questions, comments, concerns, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.